Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Moltrap here, coming at you with another one of the MSL 100 top 100 games of the MSL, and this is going to be number 58. This is an exciting game, actually. This is going to be really cool. This is none other than NaDa versus ilOveOOV, and so you can see on there his name is ilOveOOV, and all the O's are like capitals, or maybe they're zeros or something like that. I'm not sure, but I'm just going to call him ilOveOOV. And I believe, we're going to find out in a moment here which one is which. There, okay, so the purple terran in the bottom left is going to be NaDa. There he is, looking sharp. And the white terran in the top right of this map is ilOveOOV. There he is. So ilOveOOV, I've talked about NaDa a few times before recently on this channel, but I'm not sure how much I've talked about ilOveOOV, maybe only once before. So just to kind of reiterate, so ilOveOOV, this is a really interesting match because this is, this is the end, sort of at the end of 2003. NaDa was kind of one of the dominant players of 2002 and 3. He basically won every Star League in 2002. In 2003, he's still like placed in every Star League. So just absolute monster player at this point in time. So he's still like, you know, the man to beat basically in 2003. And on the other hand, we have ilOveOOV. Now ilOveOOV plays on the same team as Boxer, and Boxer was, you know, the man to beat in 2001 basically, right? So later ilOveOOV came to be known as, well, a couple things. He had a lot of nicknames because he ended up becoming very, very well known, but ilOveOOV was called Neo Boxer, right, or Son of Boxer sometimes, like that, because he was on the same team and he kind of, you know, learned from Boxer and grew as a player, sort of under Boxer, I guess. Maybe a little bit in Boxer's shadow as a result, although eventually he would come out of that shadow for sure. But so anyway, point being, this is the beginning of ilOveOOV, right? He has not won any titles yet, and this is a point where he's just starting to show strong play and come out here. This is the semifinals of the TGSambo MSL at the end of 2003. So, and if I'm not mistaken, ilOveOOV is up 2-1 right now in this series. Let's see, there's the stats. Yeah. So yeah, 2-1. So basically, if ilOveOOV wins this game, he will advance from the semifinals, beating the dominant NaDa, knocking NaDa out of contention for this MSL. Which is, as I said, kind of an amazing deal because, or a big deal because NaDa's been like winning everything, right? So if ilOveOOV can beat him, that'll be like basically ilOveOOV's way of establishing his ascendancy and showing that he is not just an upstart, that he can beat the best. And so this is also, again, NaDa needs to win this game to bring it to a game 5 to try and hang on, to try and continue his reign, essentially. So very, very important for both players. In any case, whoa, there's some SCVs going out? What? Are those... is he doing some kind of a rush? I saw the barracks over there and I wasn't too worried because I figured it was going to be a scouting barracks. I mean, it looked like it was a proxy racks, but it wasn't really proxied in that proxy of a location. And, okay, the SCVs are coming back home. Never mind. They just want to take a little vacay from all that mining and just come, you know, just go do a little tour of the desert and then now come back to get back to work, get their paycheck again. Do SCVs get paid? I don't know how the economic system works in the Terran government. In any case, we got both players putting down 2 factories, NaDa putting down an armory as well. This is interesting. And we saw, I'm a little interested by this, and I don't know this map super well, but there's this, we saw ilOveOOV put these 2 supply depots kind of like near his choke, as if he was like just making that a little bit more of a maze to get through, possibly worried about vultures running in or something along those lines. And so putting those depots there makes it so that the vultures have to spend time turning and changing directions and navigating that, and if you put some units in that block, they can't really accomplish as much. Anyway, so there's that barracks floating in, getting a full scout in. Barracks spotting the armory and is now going to go say, okay, well, I don't want to lose this barracks, so let's see if I can float it out before this marine kills it slowly and steadily. And both players just scouting with their barracks, as we can see there. NaDa didn't build his in a proxy location, but he still built his sort of at a weird forward location. Then he made one marine and floated it, so it's taken a long time, but it's finally gotten over here and is able to get a scout in as well. And this is interesting though, because of those depots. Oh, that's what he did. Oh, the depots are there because otherwise he could, I think he could land his barracks in that spot and block any reinforcements from getting out. I think that might be why that is. I've never actually played on this map before, so I'm not sure if that's the reason why, but that would be really cool if that's why he did that, to make sure that he can't use the barracks as a blockade. In any case, NaDa is running out some vultures. Both players have vultures on the map now at this point. And another command center going down in that top right location for ilOveOOV. It looks like the barracks, ilOveOOV's barracks is burning now, so it's going to lose it eventually. But, oh, hold that thought. A couple vultures running into the main here. When reinforcements pop out, they'll be able to deal with this. But in the meantime, some vultures getting some free SCV kills. And SCV is running to attack. And this was not in the contract that they signed, ladies and gentlemen. Are they getting paid overtime for this? I'm not sure. They do get a surround on the vultures, though. And they're going to eventually pick off the vultures. Wow. SCV's banding together and defeating the superior vultures. Now we do see that NaDa has a group of Goliaths protecting his choke. They can't move out because I think he knows that there's mines there. I think those are ilOveOOV's mines. And so he can't push out without losing those Goliaths potentially to the mines. And here's the Marine is gonna... What? Scouting mission? Sure. What? What is there to see? Ah! Oh. Sorry. I was embodying that Marine for a second there. Goliaths are pretty good at taking out mines, so they're going to polish off that second one. But 2 mines at once, I guess, would be too difficult to attack move. So he could, I think he could have theoretically microed out and pushed out and like killed the mines one by one. I think there's a way of doing that with that many Goliaths. But maybe that kind of micro hadn't been invented yet at this point in time, at this early stage of the game. So it's interesting. We do have... Oh, and actually NaDa shifting into Wraiths. Wow, okay. And we saw that ilOveOOV has a there we go, a starport as well with a control tower attached, so he's building a dropship more than likely. Probably gonna try and drop vultures into NaDa's main at some point. And now he's getting his own armory there, and that was kind of funny. That kid just showed up on camera, he's like acted like he got caught or something a little bit, but he was amused that he was on camera. Anyway, so yeah, I think it might have been scouted because, or, well, I mean, I guess it makes sense to get an armory up regardless and just start getting upgrades at the very least. So, but we've got Tank Vulture versus Goliath and Wraith, which is an interesting combination. And the Wraiths are now moving across the map. And oh no, does oh, the dropship, he catches the dropship, it'd be huge. But he doesn't quite see the dropship. The Wraiths are moving in here, and the first Goliath, the absolute first Goliath pop out at just the right moment to take some pot shots. But it's such a weird map that the Goliaths can't really get to where that location is where these Wraiths are attacking the SCVs, and so the SCVs are going to have to be forced to run away. And now we see he's actually dropping... Well, actually, there was a ramp there, so it's an interesting spot to be dropping, but at least he was able to get around any sort of spotting and get through to the defenses, get around the forward defenses into the main base here. Well, I mean, into the choke of the main base. He runs one vulture by, but in the meantime, ilOveOOV is actually just losing a lot of units. Loses his entire army. He never really sieges up, so the Goliaths don't... So the Goliaths are able to just go kind of head-to-head, if not toe-to-toe, with those tanks. And, I mean, tanks don't even have toes, so, you know, I guess they would have had to go head-to-head. Now he's got the control tower attached, so it looks like he's like, okay, well, I've got enough of an advantage with these Wraiths that I think I am going to try and get some cloak going on. It also could just be that he wants to use one of his starports. Oh, no! Oof! Yeah, see, Goliaths are pretty good at picking off mines. They're only, it looks like one of them went off, so... able to pick off those others. But in any case, NaDa could be just getting dropships, what I was getting at here. We just have that single dropship still out for ilOveOOV, and this is interesting. He's trying to land at the bottom left base. There is a mine in the perfect spot for him to land his command center there, so he's asked to land it next to it, and he's going to have to kill off that mine later on. It's actually not too big of a deal to just mine where it is now, though. Another dropship coming in for ilOveOOV here. come around the top of the map to go around and do a drop. And we're seeing that there are mines around the map. And I believe those are basically scouting mines. So if this dropship flies over the mine, it will actually get vision. Mines do not have very much vision. But if the dropship flies basically right on top of it, he'll be able to see it. And it doesn't, though. The turret, in anticipation of the dropship, is not quite early enough. And Goliaths are not being dropped down inside of NaDa's base. Does he have siege tech? It looks like he doesn't, or is not choosing to use it because of the mobility with that dropship. The Goliath's doing a lot of damage to those SCVs, killing several of them before having to go escape. And oh no, here come the raids to take out the dropship. And oh no, he takes out the dropship with only one Goliath escaping, and it is immediately sniped by the ground army. So really, really big loss actually there for ilOveOOV. He would have been a lot better off just keeping his Goliath in the back line there and trying to kill off a few more SCVs, but instead he loses everything to those wraiths. So pretty big loss. Now here's the thing though, this is I don't know, you know, if we're gonna see that in this game necessarily, but eventually I said that ilOveOOV became known as with a few different nicknames, right? Another nickname that he ended up getting was the Cheater Terran, because ilOveOOV is basically like the kind of the inventor of modern macro, or the inventor of macro-based play, right? Such that he was called a Cheater Terran because he would lose an army, but then you'd look at his base and somehow he'd still have more supply than his opponent, right? Because he would just be so on top of his macro that it was ridiculous. And so as you can see, even though he lost his Goliaths, lost a dropship, he's moving out with another force. And a significant force. It's not that he's behind. He seems to be about on even footing with NaDa in terms of the army scale. And he's pushing across the map with this army. He still has dropships along with that army. 3 dropships, in fact. So he's got some mobility, which can be crucial. But those dropships are also kind of just dead weight. In terms of fighting power. NaDa first getting out his first dropship now. He still has those wraiths out. He must have cloak upgraded by now, I imagine. Let's see. And then actually ilOveOOV building another command. I think that's ilOveOOV. It's hard to tell on the minimap who's... white and purple are not exactly similar colors, but it's still very difficult to tell sometimes. Anyway, so this is an interesting situation where we have... NaDa sieging up, ilOveOOV is sieging up on the low ground outside of there to kill the turrets off. We're seeing a little bit of skirmishing between the wraiths and the Goliaths. The wraiths taking out one dropship. The wraiths are going to take out a second dropship as well. He only loses one wraith for both dropships, which is a pretty good deal. NaDa looking a little bit concerned there. He still does have this wraith advantage. Maybe he didn't get cloak after all. Although he might not have used it yet at this point, even if he did have it upgraded. But he doesn't really need it. The enemy is going to have comsat, so it's not really going to be super useful to have cloak upgraded. Okay, that was actually NaDa's command center down at sort of the bottom right area. So interesting to build a base kind of in a weird location there. But ilOveOOV is now unsieging on the low ground, trying to move in. The wraiths, oh no! What are the wraiths doing? Wraiths getting caught there. Moving around, I'm not sure what was going on there. He might have just lost track of the wraiths. I mean, theoretically, he could have been throwing the wraiths away to free up supply, try and make more units because it's faster than building supply depots, and the wraiths were not really accomplishing anything with that many Goliaths on the ground. But more than likely, I would say that's probably a mistake, since wraiths can be a tactical advantage against dropship play and that kind of thing. And here we go, this field of turrets that has been built by NaDa in order to try and maintain control of this middle ground is being slowly picked off. And here we go. Okay, so this is what NaDa was planning on doing. He built that command center in a kind of a weird spot, but he is moving it into this sort of center, middle, bottom base. And ilOveOOV trying to push in here. He's gonna get one of the dropships with those Goliaths, and now it's just tank versus tank battles, and trying to see over the top to get shots at each other. The command center can't really accomplish much at this point. Well, I mean, it also needs to land, but you know, without really securing this position, it's going to be hard for him to mine from that location anyway. And I think he realized this. He says, okay, I'm going to need to establish a better defensive position, establish some dominance. And actually, here he goes in. He's going to siege up, and right as the unsiege, oh no! Oh no, those 2 tanks pop. If things have been a little different, if ilOveOOV had vision of those 5 tanks and hadn't unsieged at that moment, he actually could have gotten some free damage on NaDa's tanks there and done significant damage, but instead, things go the other direction and NaDa gets 2 free tanks out of the deal. Very, very well done. NaDa now at 3 bases, it looks like, whereas ilOveOOV looks like he is on getting his 4th base at the top left of the map. Starting to build that command center there. And actually building a command center at the bottom right of the map as well. So this is a crucial point where ilOveOOV has 800 minerals in useless command centers at the moment. And if NaDa can use it to his advantage and try and take some ground control, take some control of the map, then he will be able to gain an advantage in the game. But if not, we're going to see ilOveOOV get a major economic advantage going into the late game here. And yeah, look at this. This is Terran versus Terran, ladies and gentlemen. Posturing with tanks, trying to get your line in a spot where you can stop their line from moving, trying to shift in slowly, trying to take advantage of their lack of vision so that your tanks can outrange theirs. Of course, tanks' vision is not as far as their attack range, so if you can maintain vision, then you can maintain your optimal attacking power and maintain your defensive position. But we're seeing both players trying to move into that range without being spotted, and then go in and actually, this is interesting. So these vultures, I don't think he was waiting. It seems like it's probably a coincidence, but he actually lets that command center finish and then moves in. And then moves in with the vultures to kill off that ACV, plant down some mines there, and maintain control of that bottom right base. So, wow, very, very interesting. Again, this is turning into just a macro game now. Sheer economy and production versus economy and production. Nice little SimCity there. Cute little arrangement of factories there for ilOveOOV. He's got 5 factories pumping out units. And he's got those 3 dropships as well, which NaDa doesn't have rates anymore. And so those 3 dropships could provide some crucial tactical advantage. We're seeing less Goliaths on the ground being produced. He still does have a few Goliaths though, so dropship play is not going to be an easy move necessarily. And here we go, ilOveOOV moving in, trying to push in on this position, and NaDa caught a little bit off guard, doesn't quite have his defensive units in play. Some tanks rushing in from the side, but ilOveOOV just has too many units. He's not sieged though, and some of its units, oh no, he's sieging up in the middle. That was not a time to siege. Oh no, he did not have the time to siege there. He didn't have the defensive units. And ilOveOOV just basically cancels his units, just puts them on. There was like 3 or 4 tanks there that he just hit O and made them not fire and just take free damage for a minute. And this is, again though, this is kind of like one of the symptoms of like macro play, right? Is that if you can not pay much attention to not pay as much attention to the micro of your units, but instead you can make just twice as many as them because you're you're focusing on that instead, then you can still win games. But it's just some kind of crucial mistakes there by ilOveOOV in that micro. I mean, that is the final form of Terran play though, is of StarCraft play in general, is being able to do intensive micro on your units while also doing intensive macro in the broader sense of the game. And this is just 2003, so even though ilOveOOV has a very macro oriented style, he may not have, we haven't seen the perfected gameplay yet that we know to be played by, for example, Flash 6 years from now. Actually, let's see, Flash 6 years would be 2009, so Flash even actually only 3 or 4 years from now is when Flash starts coming out and winning tournaments. But in any case, point being, these vultures are going to work on that command center. And I thought I remember that being ilOveOOV building a command center on the bottom right, and I don't know if I was mistaken, and it was actually NaDa's command center all along, or if NaDa just killed the command center and then built one himself. I'm not sure, but either way, NaDa had it looks like that was NaDa's base down on the bottom right, so sorry if I was mistaken about that. And he does clear out those vultures, and the command center was just being hit by those vultures, so taking a lot of damage. But he does clear it out in time to save the command center. He's going to be able to save that base. In the meantime, he's also running up to this top left base. NaDa looking to be in a really great spot here, taking more ground on the bottom right. He's stopped ilOveOOV's big push to try and gain control of the map in the middle. Now he's doing harassment on the top left base, and now he's running a drop around the top of the map, running in vultures as well to try and kill off some of these SCVs. and we're seeing dropships flying, a huge fleet of dropships flying across the top of the map. And, oh, okay, so those are actually OOV's dropships that he's got his whole army in there. Because this map is such a weird construction, you kind of need those dropships in order to, oh boy. We got a physics lab, ladies and gentlemen. And we saw these starports earlier. Wow, OOV now has 5 starports, making a 6th starport, and he's attaching control towers. So he might be thinking about going BCs also. There's no reason to have that many control towers unless you're going to go BCs. He has the science facility, but he has not made the physics lab, so he can't start producing BCs right now. But he might think, okay, well, I'm just going to just overpower him with suddenly, you know, 18 cloaked raids or something along those lines. But in the meantime, wow. So NaDa starting to build Battlecruisers, but he's going to, oh no, but he's going to go in with these dropships. There's a pretty big drop in this this fleet of dropships here, and NaDa does not have the dropship count to counter this mobility. But oh no, he does. Okay, he has 2 dropships, but it's still not quite as many. So they, you know, if units all drop out, 5 dropships worth of units. I know you guys might be able to follow this math if you really concentrate, but 5 dropships worth of units is more units than 2 dropships worth of units, generally speaking. I guess if they were filled with Marines, maybe, then you could, they would technically be a larger number. But anyway, StarCraft maths. Anyway, so OOV, I'm a little bit surprised did not pull the trigger on that. He had 5 dropships, unless that's kind of a prank and they're not full or something like that. He had 5 dropships that he could have just killed off that bottom left base, instead choosing to, I guess, basically save the army. He was a little bit worried about losing the force in there, and so instead he's going to drop this bottom right base. And again, not the best time to siege with the SCVs on top. I guess he needed to siege in case these other tanks come in here, but still, it looks like it actually hurt him there. He might have wanted to keep those tanks unsieged for a moment more. But he does have a lot of vultures to accompany at least, and so the vultures could try and get in the way, but there's just too many forces here coming in for NaDa. He's going to save that base once again, and OOV ends up losing that force regardless that was in those dropships. So, and you can see, by the way, this is Terran versus Terran. Even in 2003, even before that, this is the end game of TVT, where you can see on the minimap there's kind of a line in this map. It's a kind of a diagonal line going from about, you know, 9:30 to 3:30 and dividing the map in half, and you just end up posturing between the top and the bottom half of the map. And I feel like NaDa is winning the posturing game, but he's not also pushing out and really doing a ton of damage to OOV's economy or anything like that. So we'll have to see. But there's a fleet of BCs that are out now. Several BCs have come out, and we're going to see, in fact, we might see some giant Battlecruiser versus Battlecruiser battles if OOV goes to the BCs. We haven't actually seen if he's making BCs or not. And oh no, is he going to lose some units for free again here as well? Not for free. He's going to go ahead and drop out a few tanks and clear up the defensive forces actually at this bottom right base. So he could actually lose, NaDa could lose that bottom right base. And yeah, so okay, so there's the BCs for OOV. So we are going to see BC on BC action, ladies and gentlemen. And he's actually just going to pick up those tanks and maybe even drop behind. Yeah, he's going to drop behind the mineral line there. Get some free kills on the SCVs and just stop mining completely at that bottom left base. NaDa going in for a counterattack. He says, you want to attack my corner, I attack your corner. He's going to go ahead and drop his tanks on top of those, and that is the tactical power of the dropship, especially when they don't have a ton of Goliaths. And we're seeing both players shifting into not building very many Goliaths at this point. Just focusing on the ground army, because Goliaths versus tanks is not a good matchup. The Goliaths are good against the dropships, obviously, but if you build too many Goliaths to counter the dropships, then, well, you just lose to more tanks, essentially, because the gas that could have been in Goliaths that was in Goliaths ends up being more tanks. A huge fleet of Battlecruisers is flying across the map, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit of overkill for taking out these vultures, but Jesus, look at that. Just a giant flying ball of metal and lasers flying through the air. That is a scary, scary Battlecruiser army right there. We're seeing some vultures running in here on the bottom middle as well, and it looks like these vultures are actually be very effective, dropping mines next to the tanks and killing off one and damaging another one severely. NaDa does have backup forces, though, moving in there, and Battlecruisers are not as fast as Vultures, so chasing down the Vultures with Battlecruisers is not going to work particularly well. I mean, eventually the Battlecruisers will win once they corner those Vultures, but not before the Vultures kill every SCV, and that's exactly what they're going to do. So he's going to be forced to run the SCVs away. He's losing several still, and NaDa has his own Battlecruiser force, but is not as sizable. So this is not necessarily looking good for NaDa. He is starting to produce some Goliaths, though. Goliaths are going to be a great addition to that battle against the Battlecruisers. But OOV's Battlecruiser is now moving in the middle of the map, and you can see on the minimap, okay, he's actually pulling SCVs. He says, you know what? He probably has money banked right now. And this might be it, ladies and gentlemen, the big BC on BC battle. The SCV's running underneath, but it's all down to the air battle here. The SCV's possibly drawing fire. Tanks are not doing anything. It's just BC versus BC. A couple of Yamatos going off, but it looks like OOV has the superior air army. NaDa having a couple more BCs coming in from the bottom, and one more coming from the side as well, though. But it looks like OOV still has the better supply advantage here, and he's focused firing on the enemy BCs. It's just down to 3 BCs for NaDa, 5 for OOV, now down to 2, now down to 1, and Yamato's the second one. It's just 1 left, and it looks like OOV has won the air battle. NaDa come in with a couple of reinforcements, but how injured are they? No, it looks like OOV's BCs are actually still completely healthy, and he uses them to polish off. There's the GG, polishing off NaDa's air army, and just demolishing that final battle while the SCVs suicided underneath. I didn't see if they were actually drawing fire or not, but the SCVs just kind of being present for that battle, and the BC on BC action just finalizing the game. Wow, well done. And OOV in the end just having the superior air army, and NaDa just kind of losing his army piecemeal here and there. He lost his Goliaths attacking there. He didn't have anything else to follow up with, and OOV just with the superior economy and the superior macro ending up with the larger air army there. Just, you know, basically OOV was producing BCs out of 6 starports, and NaDa was producing BCs out of 3 or 4 starports, and didn't continue enough production of his ground army to have like a Goliath count to supplement or anything like that. And he really couldn't, because he was also kind of losing some of the ground engagements. He was winning a lot of the ground engagements too. So it wasn't as if, you know, he was just getting overrun the entire game or anything like that. But it just came down to the fact that the ground exchanges didn't quite go in his way enough, and his army supply was whittled down by losing a few tanks here and there in the last few minutes of the game, and couldn't quickly enough replace it with Battlecruisers. And OOV with just a superior BC count, and, you know, NaDa having 2 or 3 Battlecruisers coming in at the end after he'd lost his entire air armada. You know, it might have been a little bit different. Imagine if instead of those BCs limping at the end and dying, and instead of those Goliaths just dying to the BCs early, imagine he has, in that air versus air army, he has 3 extra Battlecruisers, and he has a couple Goliaths on the ground firing up as well. It could have been a more even battle, and maybe OOV still wins, but he only wins with 1 or 2 BCs at the end of that. And you know, it could have gone into a longer game, but NaDa just not having all his forces marshaled in the same spot at the same time. OOV doing a little bit better job of target firing down NaDa's BCs as well, and takes the game. So OOV is going to advance. OOV is going to advance to the finals, and this is his first Star League finals ever. So I believe, if I remember correctly, I think he ends up fighting Yellow in the finals, which is kind of interesting too, because his mentor Boxer's rival is Yellow. So it's kind of like, you know, if you think of it as him actually as like the son of Boxer, it's like kind of an interesting dynamic there. Anyway, well, hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks very much for watching. Pretty cool to see. Some people think TVT is boring in the late game because you end up having this big dividing wall, but I think it's really cool, especially when players like these are trying to you know, battle back and forth and doing drops and vulture harass and stuff like that. And, you know, we got to see a big Battlecruiser on Battlecruiser giant air massacre, and so that was a pretty fun way to end it as well. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks very much for watching. Take care.